All right. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I am glad you're here. Welcome to the greatest show on the interwebs. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you're here. We have a great show lined up tonight. I'll tell you what, Max Marien is with us tonight, and we're going to have a great time with him. Craig Taylor's in moderation. Also, we have, people are already chiming in. The chat is already flying off the handles. 30 people logged in the first second. Kent, is that Stamey donated $10 to the super chat and said, hello, Paraworld. Welcome. So glad that you're here. Want to just do some quick order of business. And thank you guys. I appreciate your moderation. Craig Taylor, Nick Fasakis, Anthony Peregringo, Craig Couch is with us tonight. Want to just mention a couple things real quick before we get into the show. One is PPG Zone. PPG Zone is run by Josh Perry. It's a great little platform, social media platform that for just literally designed for us, for paragliding pilots and paramotor pilots. I think it's more for paramotor pilots, but we'll just say that it's for free flight people too. So you should come and jump on. And you can check out the website by going to ppgzone.com and create a profile. I did. And then say hi to me on there. And it's pretty cool, man. There's some really good resources on there. And soon there's going to be some place where you can buy things and sell things. And it'll be pretty neat. So anyways, go check out their website. Also, the show's brought to you by Midwest Parajet. Go check out those guys at midwestparajet.com. It's coming soon. We're going to do part 2 of the show that we did with Mr. Reed. We're going to have a great time with that. Chris Fenmore donated $5 to the super chat. He said, hello back at you. Welcome. Also, this show is brought to you by PPG Smoke. I just got a message from Ryan Roberts. So check your emails. He just dropped it just before the show, and he trolled me a little bit just before the show. So appreciate the trolling and the love. So go to that website, which is ppgsmoke.com. If you haven't been paying much attention, you potentially can win a paramotor, and just the motor, not the frame and the harness and all that, but just a motor. And Ryan Roberts is giving away 2 of them. How can you win? You go to ppgsmoke.com and you purchase the headset. The new headset that just came out. I shouldn't say just came out. It's coming out soon.
All right, I got you. All right.
So check that out. The website again is ppgsmoke.com. You go, if you pre-order the Unity headset, your name will be put in a raffle. And there's also going to be some special news coming out soon about if you've already bought one, there's some perks to that and some cool stuff that's going to be happening. So your name is going to go in the spinny wheel of winning things, and you could potentially win a motor. We're going to give it away on this show. And that's the first motor. And then the second one, once he reaches the goal of 150 pre-orders. So really stoked about that. Mark Rogers donated $5 to the super chat. He said, I'm loving my new shirt. It's comfy. Thanks, Mark Rogers. I'm glad you're a winner chicken dinner. By the way, if you're watching the show and you're in the chat, you put your name or something in there. You just say hello in the chat. And amazingly enough, your name goes into this magic spinny wheel of winning things. And then somewhere about halfway through the show, we're going to give away something very special. Max Marien, thank you so much for coming on the show. You are an amazing human being.
Thanks, Robert. You are as well.
I know that you literally just left the glider port and we're probably driving on 2 wheels to get home so that you could be on the show. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were awesome. I want to fire off the show by first saying thank you for coming on. And then second, if you want to check out the other episodes of Max Marien, you can do that by going to paraglidingtalk.com and go previous episodes. And also you're going to be able to find this episode on all kinds of podcasts, including Spotify. And I think that's the most recent one that they've let us put on the platform. We're also on Anchor FM, and go check out those things so you can catch the audio. So I want to give a special shout out to all the audio listeners. There's a ton of them in England. It's pretty cool. So all you guys, what's up? Okay, so Max, I want to just dive right in, and I want to ask you some questions. First, since you've already been on the show a few times, I'm not going to step on the same questions, but I do want to tackle some cool stuff. You have been on some world adventures. Acro has taken you around the world. Talk a little bit about that. And just before I dive in, John Wayne donated $10 to Super Chat. He said, Saturday is flyable here. Thanks, John Wayne, and congratulations on flying weather. Tell us a little bit about your flying adventure, and I'm going to give you the platform. I want to talk about world adventures, and I'm just going to give you the stage.
Awesome. Thanks, man. One of the greatest things about our sport is how easy it is to transport our aircraft, right? And everybody knows that a paraglider is one of the most compact, lightweight personal aircrafts in the world. So, being able to put it on a plane and take it anywhere you want is one of the great abilities that we have compared to kind of any other form of aviation. So that being said, I've been flying for 20 years. My first little, out of the country trips were just down to Mexico, which we're in San Diego, so that's not super far off and exotic. That's just a little drive across the border and an hour down or so. But my first, really out there and abroad trip, I would say that I did was actually into central Mexico to a place called Tapalpa. And that was where I really got started with travel. Went down there, must have been 2011, 9, somewhere in that realm. 10, let's just call it right even. And that was my first time actually getting on a plane with my equipment. But then, after that, you kind of open it up for me a little bit. I did the world record in 2012 for infinite tumbles. And so then I started traveling to Europe. I traveled to Turkey for 5 years in a row, which I'm going to be going back again this year. And then hopefully every year after that to teach SIV, but also to take part in the World Air Games. And if you guys have, been in the paragliding scene for a bit, you've probably seen pictures of Aludnis, the flying site in Turkey.
Yeah.
That is one of the meccas. That is the largest tandem operation in the world, but it's also one of the largest flying tourist destinations in the world. So Turkey is it's an incredible, beautiful scene right on the Mediterranean, launched from a 6,000 foot tall mountain right on the coast, glide out and do whatever you want out over the ocean. Right?
Yeah.
Kind of pull all the stops out when you get out over the water, right? So that's it's really one of my favorite destinations, one of my favorite places that I've flown in. But I've also been, South America, Chile, Peru, and Colombia. I've been in Europe and, the Alps and a few different countries, as well as Australia and New Zealand. So I'm still missing a few, right? I still haven't really flown in Asia. I'd like to go and fly in, say, Vietnam or in Thailand would be really cool. I know there's some groups that go out to Thailand and do cross country and SIV.
You say you've done India?
I haven't. I've been to India. I flew in Nepal. I didn't fly in India.
Okay. Nepal,
yeah, Nepal and India. Yeah, it was cool. It was definitely a culture shock.
Oh yeah,
right. India and Nepal, but epic flying. Really beautiful to be able to just look at those mountain ranges, right, from the air, looking at that whole giant, biggest mountain range in the world. It's impressive. Right? It's a really cool feeling. But yeah, I definitely a bit of culture shock. So you have to go there with like a really relaxed attitude. I feel like.
Yeah.
Good. Uh, anyways, yeah, I've done some cool stuff with travel, and the I think there might be some hangups for people, for traveling internationally, especially now with the whole COVID thing.
Yes.
But before COVID was a factor, so long as you had your passport, your wing, you can just make sure that you keep it under the whatever it is, 50 pounds or so, traveling international, 25 kilos for the most part. Um, and the only place that I ever was charged oversized baggage fees was in Zurich. So if you're
Mm.
traveling through Europe, that is the only place that I've ever been hassled for oversize. And I've always been good about the overweight thing. But yeah, that whole oversize thing could be a factor there in Zurich.
And then what they do, they just charge you an extra fee.
Yeah, it was just an extra €60.
Okay.
So really, whatever.
$75.
Not that big a deal.
Yeah.
And they actually initially wanted to charge 120, and I got away with it. Come on, it's recreational equipment, and everybody in Europe knows exactly what it is. So it's not like, I feel like here it's sort of, we still have a little bit of mystery of what a paraglider is. Yeah, it's not like that in Europe, definitely.
That's where you're behind the boat, right? Where they're pulling on you with the rope.
Yeah. A parasail.
Yep.
I'm a parasailer.
I'm a parasailer.
I've been parasailing for 20 years.
Yeah. Everybody's a parasailer too. It's funny everywhere you go. I did that once, and
yeah. Oh, that's great. I kind of gave up on the whole trying to correct people.
Say.
Ago. So, now when if somebody asked me a little, like if there is a distinction made between parasailing and paragliding, and they ask me what's the difference, my answer is the shape.
The shape, yeah.
That's it. That's the only difference, really. It's just the shape. Yeah, it's still fabric and lines, and it's just a little bit different of a shape.
I guess we could, if you have to ride a reserve, that's kind of like parasailing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Round, if you got a round,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if it was like one of the old school kind of steerable rounds.
Yeah.
There you
go. It's amazing that people survive some of those wings. Amazing. Real quick, I want to mention a couple sponsors. Paramotorprops.com. Go to Paramotor if you blow up a prop, get a really good deal. The interwebs are this is the place where you're going to get it. It's paramotorprops.com. Really good deals. And then also paraorangeproducts.com if you need to get some stuff to, like Anthony Peregringo, he has these covers for his prop covers. I know they have those. They've got you cover your entire unit with it's almost like a material that you'd cover your barbecue grill in. Really cool stuff. Go check out their website. That is paraorangeproducts.com or paraorange.com. And also our sponsor tonight, I'm wearing their gear tonight, American Allied Drains and Plumbing. So if you're in the San Diego area and you've got a plumbing issue, they're giving a 10% discount if you mention paraglidingtalk.com. Can you believe that? It's pretty cool. So if you mention Paragliding Talk, 10% discount. Phone number is 844-777-9055. And yeah, pretty awesome. Let's talk a little bit about your accident. This happened over a year ago. You were on a flying adventure in another country. And before the show, I was thinking, man, you know what? We've got, I can't imagine what it would be like this last winter. We had a couple incidences where the guys were in, I think it was in January. They were in, I think, Colombia, and they had one of the girls had an accident. She broke her back. And so they had some issues with insurance. It seemed on the outside, because I was watching the messages go back and forth on social media, and I said, gosh, man, that must be absolutely horrible to go through stuff like that. And I thought maybe we can learn some things tonight about that particular scenario that you went through with your incident. So if you'll maybe expound
Yeah.
on what happened.
Yeah, sure. So, my injury was a fractured vertebrae. Um, what caused it was just me not doing proper double checks in the first place, but then breaking a lot of my own rules in the second place, and then getting, the lee side of the thermal in the third. So, I can't say like, oh, there's some mystery to what happened. It's like, well, no, I've made all the same mistakes that I tell people not to make. So anyways, I had a brake wrap. I let go of the brake to fix it, low to the ground just after getting seated, and took a deflation, right? Big deflation, and only 30 feet up or something. So the ground came real quick. Now, for as far as the the hospital side, it was in New Zealand, by the way, at Wanaka. Anyways, in New Zealand, accidents for extreme sports of that nature are 100% covered. So,
no kidding.
If you are going to hurt yourself paragliding, I really suggest you do it in New Zealand.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that it was interesting because during the initial crash, like the initial phases of, okay, am I going to, that whole am I going to get up from this mentality comes in. Like, am I going to be able to pull myself together and walk off the side of this hill? And the answer came easy once one of the pilots told me, hey, no, don't worry, this is all going to be covered, because I didn't actually know that. Right.
Wow.
I feel like if it had happened in some other country, if it happened in Mexico or Colombia or wherever, the injury at the time didn't feel so severe that I didn't feel like I couldn't have gotten out of it. Fortunately, I didn't have any risk to the spinal cord, but that was definitely a concern from all the first responders, was that there could be, it's a spine injury, so there could be an impact on the spinal cord. And so in that case, what is it? You immobilize the person, right? You put them in a back brace and ship them off to the hospital. I feel like, looking back, if it had been in a country where it would have, been some cost incurred with calling in the helicopter, going to the hospital, getting the x-rays and yada, yada, that I would have tried to get into a vehicle myself, right? To just eliminate that whole helicopter thing. Now there are, and one thing I really recommend, and I do pretty much everywhere I go, is buy some third-party insurances. You can find insurance companies that will cover you for paragliding in case of an accident like that. And that kind of thing is really useful, more for the peace of mind. You have peace of mind that you're covered going into it, but then if something does happen, that was one aspect that I didn't really consider, is that if something happens and you're sort of on that, high adrenaline borderline, is it going to be a problem for me to move kind of state? That can make the difference between you just simply calling rescue support like you should and trying to figure out your own way to the hospital or out of the brush or wherever, out of off the side of the hill. So, definitely there are some insurance companies that are worthwhile to look into and get. Most of the time, in my experience, you will need to pay something at the hospital. So, like, I had a friend get injured in Turkey, and so he had to pay for some of his medical expenses up front. It wasn't too much; it was like $5,000, and then was able to get reimbursed from his insurance later on. But be prepared for that kind of scenario where you may have to actually pay something. So just having the availability on your credit, right, for that scenario. Otherwise, the my whole story was, yeah, they put me in the helicopter, they flew me to Queenstown for an X-ray, and then to Christchurch for an MRI because they actually weren't even sure if I had broken anything initially. That's why they took me to Queenstown initially.
Mm.
They took me to Queenstown in a helicopter, and then from Queenstown to Christchurch in a plane, so I could get it was a CT scan on the MRI, and just to establish that there was no impact to the spinal column. I didn't do any surgery. All that I had was fractured vertebrae, so back brace, and that's it. So my injury was relatively mellow compared to some of the ones that I've seen out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, yeah, that can be a scary factor to be traveling outside the country and get injured. A lot of times your own medical coverage, like if you have Kaiser or something like that, will reimburse you for accidents that happen abroad as well.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's definitely worth looking into if you've already had something where you paid out of pocket. Yeah, try to get on your insurance and see if you can get a reimbursement. But
That's crazy.
other than that, I mean, nobody likes to think about that. Nobody likes to admit that you're doing something dangerous that you can get hurt doing.
Yeah.
So if you are traveling outside the country, it's usually pretty cheap, like $10 or something for a month for, just catastrophic insurance. It'll cover anything above, say, 5,000 or 6,000, something like that. And there's a number of companies. Where did I get that from? I think I actually got my insurance from, there must have been like a link on Cross Country magazine, something like that. There's some paragliding specific ones that cover paragliding. I'd have to look it up again, but I definitely found that link through Cross Country magazine.
That's cool.
Get that. Yeah.
By the way, DP donated $10 to the super chat, said alms for the poor. Thank you, kind sir. Appreciate your contribution to the super chat. We have, I want to talk a little bit about something that is on the mind of pretty much every single person in the chat right now. They want to know, and this is something you've got, Max, something you got. Talk about the transition from motoring or P2 to P3 so that they can fly at Torrey Pines. And what are you looking for in a P3 pilot before you send them off the hill?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. P3. So what is a P3? What should a P3 look like, right? We know that P3s aren't quite that advanced, like you've been flying for several years or a decade or so, and should be able to basically know how to paraglide from any site in whatever conditions are, relatively doable. And you've gotten to the point where you've figured it out. You know how to fly. If you're flying consistently, if you're flying actively, you can reach the P3 status in something like 2 to 3 months, I would say. in really good conditions, a place where you can fly every single day and bang out 3, 4, 5 flights a day, then P3 should come in about 3 months. Yeah. The major difference between a P2 and a P3 is a P2 just barely knows how to do X, Y, and Z to keep themselves safe, right? So they're well informed enough and experienced enough to know how to safely operate in very limited conditions, right? So a lot of P2s, they've gotten their training. They go out, and the first kind of flights that they should be doing unsupervised are just like sled rides, really gradually easing into it, not even attempting to fly in what they would have flown in under instructor supervision, right? So reducing operation limitations when you're not with an instructor. And then from there, as a P2, without really instructor supervision, you can kind of gain the experience and work up towards P3 on your own. But the process will be safer, and more accelerated if you're working with an instructor objectively towards that goal. Now, a lot of people will just go for P2 because most sites in their neighborhood only require a P2, or even some sites might not require USHPA at all. But the motions of going through that process and working with an instructor, training towards that goal are beneficial whether or not you really reach the status of P3 or P4 or whatever rating you're going for. In my mind, the training itself is the valuable part. And what I mean by that, I've had students that have come as P2s, and they are, for whatever reason, maybe really low on the totem pole, really inexperienced, and lacking in some like fundamental skills. So basically saying they shouldn't really have even gotten their P2, and I'll work with them up to P3, whatever I feel comfortable with that. There's also guys that come as P2s that are basically already P3s. They've already, have enough knowledge and skill and, practice, I suppose, to basically meet the qualifications for P3. So, what do I do is, I'm not just going to train with them for a day or two and then say, here's your P3. I mean, I'll usually take them, just continue to push them towards the goal of becoming a more advanced pilot. One of the biggest problems that I see with our rating system is, the whole idea of P2, P3, P4 is just to say that you have accomplished X, Y, and Z. But just because you have done 90 flights for P3, 20 hours, doesn't really mean that you should qualify for that rating. And that's actually why a lot of times, that's why USHPA says in its SOPs that is ultimately up to the instructor to determine whether or not you qualify as a P3. And, you should be meeting these minimum requirements, but you don't really have to meet all of them, right? Or even any of them. So that's an interesting thing. The ratings are kind of unique to the instructor that you're working with. So whatever their comfort level is, whatever they feel safe to say with you is going to be what they determine. So we have these standards, these minimum requirements, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's up to the instructor. And the most important thing is the amount of training or skill, the progression that you're going through. How are you becoming a better pilot? And what's your ultimate goal? If your ultimate goal is just to be able to fly at Torrey, well, you come and learn there.
Yeah.
We're training guys from zero out there.
I was just going to say that a lot of these guys they've got motors. They live in all different places across the country. And, I'm obviously you're one of the sponsors. So I always try to send people over to Torrey Pines but what I think happens on most occasions, it's like, hey, I'm taking a vacation. I'm going to San Diego. I'm not going to have a motor with me. I want to go to Torrey Pines and maybe I can fly. What they can do is go sign up and get some training and on radio with an instructor. And what is it? $250?
Yeah, I do 250 is the day rate. And I'm happy to do discounted if it's like, for some length of time, like you're coming for a week or two. I mean, I'm not going to charge you 250 for every day. But what I also recommend to a lot of guys that travel in is just sign up for the, whatever, the P1, P2, the P2, P3, the P3, kind of wherever you're at, just sign up for the course so that you can just continue to return and take advantage of the training situation at Torrey whenever you like. There's several pilots that come from throughout the country that'll just do a week or two or whatever they can at a time. And, I mean, they're enrolled in whatever program it is, P3 is 1500 or like P2, P3 is 2500, P1, P2 is 2800. So they're already enrolled in a program and they just take little vacations to come and fly the coast.
Heck yeah, man. We're at that half hour mark. We're going to give something away. By the way, Crazy Uncle Bob donated $5 to the super chat. Said, greetings, fellow deplorable infidel flying squirrels. Thank you for that contribution to the super chat. Craig Taylor has been mad at the wheel like a madman, just like the cat meme, putting your names in there. So no more people are going to be added to the spinny wheel of Winnie things at this moment. Tonight, we are going to give away a paraglidingtalk.com t-shirt. I know I escalated that a little bit, but it's true. That's what we're doing. Are you ready?
We're ready.
Everyone's name is in the spinny wheel of winning. There's a lot of people watching.
Everyone is in there. Pretty sure I didn't miss anybody. I can look through.
Yeah. Tommy donated $10 to the super chat. Thanks, Tommy. Glad you're here, man. He had a pretty gnarly accident and we were praying for him. Fully recovering. So glad you're here, buddy. This spin tonight, it's a sponsored spin. It's brought to you by Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden runs a school in Nebraska. If you're interested in getting some top-notch training, you can sign up with Josh and his team today. There's a link in the description if you want to get a hold of him. Also, I think he gave away some stuff. If he hasn't sent it to you, you can just spam call him and spam email him until he sends it to you. And that should be fine. You'll eventually get it. Also, this show is brought to you by iFly Indiana Powered Paragliding. If you're interested in flying paramotors, no better place to get the proper training than iFlyIndiana.com. Kevin and his team will get your feet off the ground. Bill H., congratulations. Winner, chicken dinner. You are the winner. Big me. Well played, Anthony Peregringo. Linda Anderson is my mom. She just donated $10 to the super chat. Thank you, Mom. Appreciate you donating that. DP said, since the spinny wheel is rigged, can I just buy a friggin' shirt somewhere? DP, you most definitely can for the small price of $100. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Not true, not true. Just kidding. Just kidding. We'll get you one, DP. Congratulations, Bill H. Bill H. Bill, I need you to reach out to me through the website, paraglidingtalk.com. Go /contact. Drop your information where I'm going to send your shirt. I feel like I've already sent you something or you've won something on the show. So congratulations again. Bill H. is a faithful watcher. He's here every week. And thank you, Bill. I appreciate you watching the show from the very beginning. He's been around for a long time. So congratulations. Yeah, I just need to know the size shirt you wear. And we'll send that out to you. Yeah, DP, if you want to win, what you have to do, you're talking to the wrong person. You have to bribe Craig Taylor to rig the wheel for you. Or Sean. Tonight it's Craig Taylor. Thanks for stepping up, by the way, Craig. I know you worked your butt off all day today. He literally worked, ran in the door, stuffed some food in his mouth, and came to the computer to come on this show. Dedication. So, Max, I want to ask you a question. Can you turn your phone sideways? I just want to see what happens. Oh, that's much better. I just helped one of our viewers who has OCD. He may have thumbs down and left because you were in portrait mode.
He's like, I'm over it.
I'm out of here.
There you go. You're kind of balanced on an awkward little coaster keeper that I have here. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
It's great sound for being on the phone, and your internet connection is really, really fast. That's awesome.
Oh,
I remember
cool.
we first had you on, you were very choppy, but it was still an amazing show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, better internet, I suppose. I upgraded.
The small things in life. Okay. So if you do want to get involved, let's say you're interested in getting that P3 and doing some free flying at Torrey Pines, you can absolutely do that. So that is on the table for you. So plan your vacation, plan your adventure, and go to Torrey Pines. Their website is actually flytorrey.com. And there's some contacts in there. You can reach out to Max also through Facebook, Max Marien on Facebook, and just send him a message if you have questions about getting involved. And he didn't ask me to do a promo for him. I'm just saying, because it's an amazing place to fly, and it would be really cool to see you. I love showing up to Torrey Pines and high-fiving people that watch the show and people that are follow the channel and all that. So go and do that. Set up your adventure now. San Diego.
Size large, in case you're wondering, Robert. I mean, I'm kind of in need, right? Rocking the old Mission Volant.
Okay,
not even around no more.
I didn't realize that you didn't have.
Since Robert has moved to Blossom, he doesn't give much love to Torrey Pines anymore. Have you noticed that?
That's not true. It is not true.
Hey, I saw your wing yesterday. Your old wing.
You did? Yeah. Where?
Yeah,
at Saboba? At Torrey? No kidding.
David came out rocking the good old Alpina.
I'm proud of him.
I'm like, hey, there's Robert's wing.
He's our first sponsor. He's our first sponsored pilot. I hope he is doing really good.
You're sponsoring David.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, he's also a performer, musician.
Yeah. DJ.
I've yet to go and hear him perform, but actually he was playing with JC out at Torrey yesterday. JC
really?
was playing bass and David was playing guitar.
No kidding. That's pretty rad.
Yeah, it was cool. It was just funny to walk into the office and hear a little concert going on.
That's pretty cool. We should have him bring his sound equipment and do a Saturday afternoon or something.
He's playing somewhere tomorrow. He told me if you're in San Diego, you can look him up. Davey Rocket, I think is his DaveyRocket.com is his thing, and go and check him out. So yeah, I haven't gotten to see him yet. I heard him a little bit yesterday for the first time, but yeah, cool
nice.
Dude. Just thought I'd mention that, throw that out there since I saw him on your wing yesterday.
That is awesome. Special place in my heart for that wing.
What are you flying now?
I have an old Delta 2. It's got low hours on it, but it's Delta 2. But I am planning on getting the Alpina 4.
Nice.
Or the M7. I haven't decided yet. I'm so indecisive. It might be M7, but I like the idea of just going Alpina 4 and staying in I don't know. I flew the Delta 4 on Tuesday, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
It was that day that there was like a gust front and lightning at Palomar, and we were in the air, and once we got up high enough at Blossom, I could see over the mountains. I could see it was raining and it was like lightning. I'm like, oh, and it was just, everything was going up. You weren't going down. It was windy. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some advice that you have for the aspiring acro pilots. A lot of people want to know what can they do to get into acro? What kind of a mentality should someone have, and to be successful as an acro pilot? Where does somebody start?
Oh, that's a great question. My experience is that it takes a lot of repetition, right? So going up and practicing, it takes good coaching, good mentoring, either in person or via the internet, and then video review. Video review is critical for really improving as an acro pilot. The mindset that you should have going in is that you are going to make mistakes. You are going to end up in situations that will most likely cause you to throw your reserve, or at least cost you several hundred, if not thousands of feet of altitude to recover from. So the only place that is appropriate to really practice this stuff is at altitude, right? And that's when you're learning. Once you have some mastery over a certain maneuver, then it can be safely brought lower to the ground, right? But until you've really dialed into the maneuver, it's just simply not acceptable to practice it, with minimal height, right? So even something as simple as wingovers. A lot of paramotor guys get into doing wingovers, and having the extra weight and the thrust, and on top of that, if you're flying a motoring wing, it actually really helps to be able to perform them. But the technique that you'd use for doing motoring wingovers could be quite different from free flying. So that could be something to look out for if you're changing equipment, or changing whether you're free flying or motoring. You could see some pretty significant differences in the way your wing behaves, and it could require a completely different technique. So I had the reverse. I knew how to do wingovers, and then I put a motor on my back, and I had to figure out the differences with the motor. It's something that caught me off guard, and definitely made it more dangerous for me, because I was confident with wingovers low to the ground without the motor. And so now with the motor, it made it more dangerous for me to do wingovers in that same close proximity. Now I didn't have any accidents or anything, but I just realized, oh yeah, that's different, and that's more dangerous. So, especially for the motoring guys, it's great to be able to climb, just pin that throttle and climb up to as much altitude as you can really stand. I guess you get sick of hearing the motor after 20 minutes or so of climbing, but put yourself way up in the air, way up above the ground, so that you can practice those things safely. And the other major thing is try to gradually expand. Try to push the edges of your comfort zone slowly. It's something where in a safe enough setting, you can go up and just try whatever you want. But realistically, to progress, what you have to do is find out what you can do in a less safe environment, and then from there gradually push your boundaries.
Like it.
Just take it slow.
There's a handful of motoring acro pilots in the chat right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Yankee Paramotor asked a question earlier. He said, "Had you met the guy in Odin that flew the couch?" And then he had another
Oh,
question.
no.
You ever met him? I talked to him through Messenger or whatever, and I was trying to get him on the show, and he actually responded. He said, "Yeah, I'd come on the show, but it's kind of we'd have to record it, and it takes away that live vibe, and I didn't want to do it." He's an instructor, so that's all he does is he's just instructing over there. But Yankee also asked this question. He said, but there's a better question about wing progression for transitioning PPG pilots. Should they start off on a safer wing, and how long?
When you're learning aerobatics, should you start off on a safer
No,
wing?
this is just transitioning from motoring to free flight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, with motoring wings, the higher performance motoring wings are quite a bit different than the high performance paragliding wings. So yeah, absolutely. Until you really know what it is that you're tackling, you might want to chill it out a little bit. So, in other words, if you're flying something like a 17-meter snake or, whatever, high performance reflex wing, you probably shouldn't be jumping on a Xeno or an Enzo or anything like that. It's just a completely different animal. Now you probably fly an Acro wing just fine if that's, what you want to do. But yeah, it definitely in that transition going from sport to sport, we want to take some precautions to make it as safe as reasonably possible for ourselves. And the risk of pushing too slow is just it takes more time, effort, and energy. But the negative side of pushing too fast is, well, you can end up really hurting yourself. So it's pretty severe consequences in these sports. And taking the approach of, yeah, I'm already doing something dangerous, I want to make it a little more dangerous, but I'm going to do that as safely as I possibly can.
Like it. Yeah, that altitude's your friend for sure. Matt S. donated $5 to the super chat. Thank you, Matt. I don't think I've met Matt, so welcome. And here's a certified handshake. Yes. Well, let's. There was one other question I wanted to ask, and that was from the chat. I should have wrote it down. It is. I'm scrolling here. One moment, please hold. These are great questions. This was from. Did we? Oh, T. Meyer. What harness for beginning PPG? What features should I look for?
PG.
It's Dustin T. Meyer.
Not PPG,
Yeah.
PG.
Yeah, PG. Did I say PPG? What harness for beginning PG? What features to look for? Dustin T. Meyer. That's another great human being, by the way.
That's a really interesting one.
Yeah, because I started off with the like a Gin 2 open harness with a little foot strap. I really like it. I still have it actually. I feel like
Genie?
Gin Genie 2. That's a great little setup. It's got a lot of padding. I took a pretty hard fall. I full stalled at like, I don't know, 15 feet. You ever see that video? It's a 4th of July video. And just fell behind me. I dropped out of the sky right on my pad. Boom! Made me do an instant ground flip. That's how bad I hit the ground. Well, the padding saved me. I just packed up my stuff, went and flew again. Pretty amazing. That's a great harness.
In one of the Happy Acro videos that I made a compilation of all bad things. One of them was I basically was trying to do a ground spiral and ate it a little hard, and skipped in real hard on my butt, but bounced up and was just fine, right? yeah, that pad in there is so important. By the way, when I had that accident in New Zealand, I was flying one of those old school reversibles that inflate ram air. So it was virtually I basically landed on the reserve that was under the seat, not on any real protective padding. And honestly, the impact wasn't like that bad. I've had worse. I've definitely had worse, but the harness that I was flying was lightweight reversible. So probably could have saved myself a trip to the hospital there if I would have been traveling with a Acro harness.
Yeah.
You know, something anything with that big foam pad. Or nowadays there's these inflatable harnesses. So rather than it being ram air, you actually blow up your back protection like a pool toy, like with air. And those are also, I hear, fairly decent. I haven't tested that myself, but in theory, it seems like pretty solid that you could just come down like on a balloon and it pops. I think it would work.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm getting at then, as far as this question, what am I looking for with a harness? Well, probably back protection would be a good thing to have just in case. Or it depends on the scenario, on what you're flying, where you're flying, how you're flying. So if you're going to do a bunch of hiking, if you're going to go hike up some mountain, well, you probably want to go with something that's reasonably light so that you're not lugging that giant Acro harness up the mountain.
Right.
But if I'm just basically moving my stuff 100 feet from the trunk of my car to the field, well, get something solid. You want something sturdy. Weight in the seat, actually having a heavier harness feels more comfortable. That mass moving around under the glider has a big impact on how the glider flies. Especially if you're a lighter person, having actually a heavier setup can give you some benefits. The major difference, you guys can kind of see it if you ever go out kiting. Watch the big dude kite and see how he doesn't really lose that much ground when the glider's coming up, and then watch the light girl kite and notice how much she's getting pulled around. When we're flying these harnesses, the way that they feel under the glider will change depending on how they weigh or how much they weigh and kind of how they're constructed, and also the body posture, the positioning that you're in. So for a more beginner student or guy transitioning into free flight, I definitely recommend that you have some impact cushion. One of the major things with free flight is that you are flying in convective, activity. You're flying when the air is moving, unlike you would when you're motoring most of the time. So having that impact cushion there, it's not just a good idea for a beginner. It's also a good idea for a more advanced pilot, because I don't know. I mean, I end up biffing some landings once in a while too. Every landing for me isn't perfect either. But if I choose to fly my lightweight, say, bikini harness, it actually limits me, because I would not feel comfortable or safe flying, say, at Blossom when it's really active and the air is moving in a bikini harness, versus a standard harness. I might do it at Torrey where there is laminar and smooth and predictable, and I have 20 years of experience flying the place. But just the equipment that you fly is special. It's specific to you. It's your thing. Your harness is part of your body and the way that you interact with your canopy. So whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish, you have to kind of just weigh the plus and minus. My Acro harness is one of the biggest, bulkiest, most heaviest harnesses I've ever flown in, but I absolutely love it. And I'll definitely lug that thing to Turkey with me, or lug that thing, up from, up a mountain. I've hiked like 3,000 foot mountains with that thing. But that's me. And I really, really like that piece of equipment. I also have the ability to try out a lot of different pieces of equipment, which is super nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get on Max's level.
Just try or look at, read up on, look into all the different styles that you can. I'm not gonna do any favorites with branding. There's just different styles of harness, and different brands will make the same style of harness. So look more at the style of harness that you're looking into, whether it be a pod with a fairing, an Acro harness, a reversible lightweight, or a nothing bikini harness. What is it that you're going to be doing with it? Where are you going to be using it? How are you going to be using it?
Yeah. Those hike and flies probably are way nicer when you have like a single skin with a little bikini harness in there and tiny little backpack.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely. I love having nothing to hike with.
Yeah. And just fly
but
down.
At the same time, that stuff is so uncomfortable to fly.
Scary.
It just feels ridiculous once you're flying it. You're like, oh wow, okay. Well, the hike was great.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Literally, it's just so you don't have to hike down. That's it. Yeah. I want to mention a couple sponsors real quick. The show is also brought to you by Lone Star Paramotor. If you're in the Lone Star state of Texas, you can reach out to Ron Turan and his team for world-class training at LoneStarParamotor.com. Also, the show is sponsored by Resurgence PPG. Craig Taylor, take it away.
What? Huh?
Yeah, you like that. That was fast, huh?
You got me sleeping.
Got him.
Resurgence PPG is a 501c3 for veterans, by veterans. You can support them by using smile.amazon.com. Small contribution gives back. Or you can go to resurgencepppg.com directly and donate. Those guys really appreciate it. You're not just helping them and the cause, you're really helping their close friends and family as well. I've seen it firsthand, and it is really a phenomenal program. Resurgencepppg.com.
Resurgencepppg.com.
Check your NOTAMs and TFRs before you fly.
Yeah, seriously, man. That's probably one of the best messages that we have on the show every week, and probably the most neglected. Check your NOTAMs. You have no idea what you're about to get into. We had a series of helicopters flying through the valley at Blossom, 4 of them. That was on Tuesday. Really weird, really low, flying about maybe 2,000 feet through the valley.
Oh, a group of them, or was it
4 of them? No, it's like one, maybe it might have been 2 different ones, but yeah, it was really weird. I don't like it. Maybe we need to get on this this little transponder train and make sure that we all have them. Who knows? A couple other questions that came up in the chat. I ended up scrolling down by accident. Mad Sloper. He said, do you guys recommend using an additional back protection like motorcycle racers use in the harness? And I want to answer that before anybody else does. You do you, boo. I think it's a great idea, actually, especially if you're a psycho like me, launching yourself off the hill with not a whole lot of expertise.
Hey, I don't know if he answered this one, but Nick Griffiths asked, is a trike harder on glider lines? Inspection sooner? ?
Oh, interesting. I didn't see that question.
Or do the lines, are they designed on larger wings when you're using them for a trike? I guess, are they produced thicker, a heavier gauge kind of thing? Question for Max.
Don't put too much trust into the lines as far as the trimming goes. The major thing that's going to change, you're not going to break the thing. How about that? You're not going to break the thing. don't worry about breaking. You put a 12 meter on that trike and fly it all day long. Don't worry. But what will change is the trim, and on different gauges of line, the shrinking and the line lengths will change, kind of depending on the material and on the thickness of the line. So you don't have to worry about your lines breaking, but you would have some considerations about line length changing for especially thinner lines. Thinner lines are going to change and morph more easily.
Like it. We are at the 1 hour mark. We are going to call this a wrap and go to the after show, which is a really good portion of the show as well. If you're one of the contributors of the super chat, or you're on PayPal and you support the show on PayPal or Patreon, thank you. And you are welcome to join us. I just need to know who you are. I'll send out the invite to all the regulars that come on the after show. And we're going to call this a night. Mad Sloper says, does it cover you when flying if you get hurt? I don't think so. If you're talking about the back shield, I'm sure it would help in some way. Probably more likely just be awkward and uncomfortable for your flight. So try it. See if you like it. If you can get used to it. I know some old school guys.
One more question we cannot let slip. It's a really quick one. It's from David Wolf. So Robert Michaels. On average, how many women per day does a world record Acro pilot with long golden locks have to shoo away?
Yeah,
on average per day.
At least 5. At least 5.
5 a day. It's like,
if I'm going to say average, probably 10 really on average, just like, sorry, taking things. But
more in the summer.
I saw that question. I didn't want to ask it.
On a more serious note, if you are interested in learning to do aerobatics, the safest way to do it is at an SIV. Just go to an SIV clinic. You can come to one of mine. You can register, sign up for them on flytorrey.com. It's on the main page now. You scroll down towards the bottom. Or really any SIV training anywhere, wherever you are in the country, find your closest SIV or towing over water operation and go and practice whatever you want to practice there. Because I can tell you from experience, that whole reserve system thing, if you haven't actually tried it out, it might not work as great as you're hoping. So it's best if you can try it out over the water. And on that note, if you haven't had the chance to actually throw your reserve, that is a critical thing that you should try at an SIV. So go get wet, go for a swim. It's all right. Your stuff will be fine. It'll be cleaner when it comes out than when it went in. So
especially if you're a Blossom pilot.
Yeah. Get over the water and pull on some brakes and stuff.
Oh yeah, we should do a whole show on SIV. I know you're going to be busy this whole summer, so this is probably the last time I'll get to talk to you until like next year or something.
Yeah, make it happen.
We'll try.
Feel free to hit me up. It's actually better if you just catch me last minute sometimes.
Yeah, I know. That's why I did it. I had a feeling. It's into a lot of the showbiz is intuition. Yep. Yeah. So anyways, thank you guys. Really appreciate you. Max, thanks again for coming on, man. We always love having you. Craig Couch, thanks for your moderation. Anthony Peregringo, Craig Taylor. I know, where's Nick Vasakis? I know he's in there somewhere. Sean Nafsker couldn't be with us because somebody crashed into the telephone pole at the end of his street, took out his internet. It happens. That's why we had to spin the wheel.
By a paramotor.
Yeah. We will soon find out. So again, thanks for watching. Really appreciate everybody's support. You guys are awesome. We'll catch you on the next one if I don't see you on the air.